I've learned about two kinds of mosquito larvae traps I want to talk about. Both of them involve making an inviting place for mommy mosquitoes to lay their eggs, but attempt to cause the resulting larvae to die. One of these traps involves mosquito dunks. You may have already heard about this kind of trap, so I'll just mention it briefly before I talk about a fairly successful trap that's good for people who don't want to buy mosquito dunks or keep up with putting them in a bucket at least every month. But first, if you live where you can prevent there from being any still water for mosquito larvae, then you might not want to attract mosquitoes by creating some. But if you live where there will be breeding mosquitoes whether you do these traps or not, then it makes sense to have a more dangerous place for the mosquitoes to lay eggs so the larvae are less likely to survive. Mosquito dunks are mostly a bacteria that kills mosquito larvae, but not things like fish or animals that might drink the water. So they are considered pretty safe. With this trap, you take a bucket and put in organic material like dried leaves, hay, or rotten wood. That will attract mommy mosquito because her babies can eat such things. Then you just put in a mosquito dunk, fill with water, and leave outside in a shady area where rain won't get in and cause the water and dunks to flood out. Only be sure to make a way for non-target animals like rodents, lizards, and insects to escape. You can use hardware cloth over the edge or something similar. We don't want any collateral damage in this war on mosquitoes. I tested mosquito dunks by putting a lot of larvae in a large jar with some crumbles of the dunk. The next day, it looked like they were all dead. So, I believe the mosquito dunks work, but there are some disadvantages. You have to keep up with adding another dunk at least once a month and hope it doesn't run out ahead of time. It shouldn't, but it could. Also, you need to keep water in the bucket, but not leave it where rainwater might flood out the dunks. Dunks aren't typically too expensive, but I would rather something even cheaper. So now, to talk about the other kind of mosquito larvae trap. With this kind, you again get a bucket and add organic matter, then fill with water. Only then, you put a mesh cover for rain barrels over the top and push it down so it goes barely under the water. I've used screens like window screen and bug netting, but when I tested those, they both let out larvae. The mesh cover, which I got from Temu, worked the best. I guess they have the same kind at Amazon. I think it all comes from China anyway. The trap works by mother mosquito landing on the water over the screen and laying her eggs. When the young hatch out, the tiny things are near microscopic and can go through the mesh deeper into the water to feast on all the organic material closer to the bottom. But they need to come up frequently to get oxygen. They get oxygen through a straw-like thing on their tail called a siphon. Since they grow so fast, they quickly become too big to get back through the mesh. Trapped away from oxygen, they soon die. The risk with these traps is that some might end up on top of the mesh when they become too big to go through. Then they might escape. It would be good to watch out for any larvae that seem to be trapped on top and kill them. You could add tiny sprinkles of a dunk on the top, but I don't think they escape often. I tested this by putting some in a jar with mesh over it and putting that jar in a clear plastic bottle which I taped back up. That way, if any larvae made it to the mosquito stage and escaped, I could see them in the bottle. I kept this jar in the house so I could monitor it better and so I could make sure they didn't just get too hot. But I took it outside to take pictures of it where the light's better. The second day of doing this experiment, most of them were lifeless, probably from being unable to get back to the air. As the days continued, I saw fewer and fewer survivors, and then there were none. I put the mesh covers over my rain barrels, with the nets always pushed down, so they will be underwater when it rains enough to keep the barrels that full. I can see many get caught under there. With this one, several manage to change because they can get to the air around the edge, but are still trapped. Better would be if I'd gotten a bigger netting so I could push it down deeper, keeping the larvae from getting to the air that much sooner. The mesh covers do come in different sizes. The rain barrel ones are basically maintenance free, since just any time there's enough water, they are set. When there's not enough water, then I just won't catch any until there is. But in Louisiana, the rain barrels get full a lot. This one is a larvae trap and a waterer for my chickens and waterfowl. In conclusion, the trap with mosquito dunks probably works better since it kills them faster. The kind with the mesh cover probably lets one get away a little more often. But it's more maintenance free, and you don't have to worry about remembering when was the last time you put in a dunk or running out of dunks. I recommend having dunks for water you can't feasibly cover or dump out. A bonus idea is if you get some rescue tadpoles or minnows. These had gotten trapped in a drying up ditch, and I figured they could stay in the kiddie pool for now. They love to eat all the mosquito larvae that mommy mosquitoes will bring. My kids poured some larvae in there just to watch the fish go after them like dogs catching thrown treats. Let's slay these vampires any way we can.